What's up, Toyota Corollas? Welcome back to my channel. Real quick, before we get started, I want to invite you guys to join my Discord server by following the link down below. Some scumbag nuked it right before our 1-year anniversary. It's all fixed and running smoothly now, but several hundred people were kicked. It's still a very dark place, but it's a great and pretty uncensored community, and I encourage you all to join. Over the past few years, we have seen trans women dominating women's sports. Sure, it makes it way more entertaining, but it's obviously unfair for the other female competitors. And if you disagree with me on this, I don't know what you're doing on my channel. Quit wasting your time here when there's local businesses nearby that you could be looting. But ever since us humans took on enough lead poisoning to allow this sort of thing to happen, I've always wondered, are there any trans men out there that are dominating men's sports? If there's one female athlete out there who could possibly hold her own in the men's division of her sport who isn't an international drug smuggler, it would have to be Amanda Nunes. She is the #1 pound-for-pound female fighter in the UFC. She is a 2-division champ, and some people believe she already looks more like a man than a woman. This could be a huge step for the LGABC's community if she could crack the top 15. She only has one loss while competing in the Bantamweight division of the UFC, so I'm going to see how she'll hold up in the men's Bantamweight division in UFC 4. UFC 4 is the latest UFC game, but I soon figured out that it's not even close to the greatest UFC game ever created. I was looking to create a male version of Amanda Nunes with her exact attributes and perks, but it turns out they left that feature behind in UFC 3. Still, I did my best to accurately create her as a man on UFC 4 and scheduled her first fight against Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think O'Malley would be the ideal fighter to welcome her into the men's UFC. He just had a very questionable victory against Petr Yan, and most people aren't sure if he deserves a title shot right now against Aljamain Sterling, so this could be the perfect warm-up for him. Keep in mind, I recorded this video before UFC 280, and I expected him to lose, even though I love him as a fighter. Sean O'Malley is a super talented and entertaining fighter. He has a huge fan base, and he's in an open relationship, so maybe he'd be open to accepting this fight for the right price. O'Malley has a height and reach advantage on her, and he made good use of it early. He looked a little too comfortable out there, and with skills like these, he could be a great addition to the Charlotte Hornets.
For the opponent. He just started looking to finish now because he's got his opponent very bad. There, we'll see if he can follow it up.
That didn't go very well, but I blame UFC 4 for not allowing me to use specific stats in the game. This is a point where I did some research and found out that UFC 3 allows you to do this, and many fans prefer UFC 3 and 2 over the newest UFC 4. So much so that the UFC has taken the previous games off the game store because too many people were deleting UFC 4 to play the older games. This is my first time playing a UFC game prior to UFC 4. UFC 3 was released in 2018. Back then I was finishing high school or dropping out of college, and I'd only occasionally watch MMA. And to be honest, I only became interested in the UFC after Conor McGregor started to become entertaining with his substance abuse problems. Now, every time I make a video like this where I mix genders, there's always those guys in the comments saying those stats are unfair, that's made for the women division. I get it and all, but I want to keep the stats accurate to what the game came up with. And what fun would it be if I put a glass ceiling on her player build and posted a 2-minute video of her getting her ass whooped? Besides, this video has to be at least 8 minutes long if I want to keep the lights on around here. So here's a more realistic male version of Amanda Nunes. I used every stat from UFC 4 that I could and filled in the rest of the stats from UFC 3. I'm not going to allow her to duck Sean O'Malley, so we're going to have a rematch between these fighters. From here, I'm going to match her up with the opponents based on the rankings at the time when UFC 3 came out, which makes TJ Dillashaw the champion of the division, and Sean O'Malley is unranked but undefeated. Sean still has her beat in kickboxing, but Amanda must have noticed that he doesn't have LGBT-friendly hair, so she wanted to break his legs.
See if he shores some things up here. Use those elbows to prevent further damage.
Bro, UFC 3 has ass and titties in this game? Get the fuck out of here. This would have done the trick for me back in middle school. I swear to God, I used to play WWE games in my basement with the door locked. Wrestling might be fake, but back in those days, there was some serious damage being inflicted after I got home from school. Amanda was losing the second round, but she rocked O'Malley with an overhand right, wisely went for the takedown, and finished the fight like a women's street fighter. I'm not too sure how she knocked him out with that, but I'll take it. Next up for Amanda is the current champion of the division, but the #9 ranked contender at the time, Aljamain Sterling. It's a pretty even fight on paper, similar height and reach and even grappling skills. It felt like an Abu Dhabi fight. There weren't any big shots in this one, both of them just wanted to wrestle. I've seen wrestling matches on the hub that involved more damaging strikes than this one. Aljamain goes for the rear naked choke, no good. Aljamain goes for a triangle, she escapes again. Amanda goes for a Kimura off her back, and I wouldn't have taken her for a power bottom, but she makes Sterling tap after a very boring fight. Amanda would now be a top 10 contender in the division, so I stepped it up a notch with her matchmaking. Next up is 22-2 Jimmy Rivera. Honestly, I've never heard of this guy, but at the time he was the #4 contender and all of his overalls are 90 and above. For the first time yet, Amanda has the height and reach advantage, but this guy is currently a bare knuckle boxer, so he's not afraid of having dementia in his early 50s, and it showed in this one. For the first time in UFC 3, Amanda took a hard fall and almost lost a fight.
Nice.
The kick gets through.
Again, Rivera had her on the ropes, but he followed up the knockdown by throwing shots at the air above her. Amanda had a few takedowns, but she was getting Rihanna on her feet the whole match until the third round. Amanda stuns him, keeps unloading, and knocks him down with a high kick, and she doesn't stop beating him while he's down. Amber Heard walked so Amanda Nunes could run. She is now a top contender in the division, but she hasn't earned a title fight yet. Next up is one of the all-time greats in the division, Dominick Cruz, who for the first time enters a fight with an overall advantage on Nunes. But in the first 30 seconds, Amanda rocks him with a knee and almost finishes the fight early. After this, Cruz started winning the first round without a doubt.
Oh! That jab has been... Oh! Big right hand! Huge right hand! Don't be afraid to get that head off the center line. Oh! Big left hand!
With 30 seconds left in the first round, Cruz gets a good takedown. They sprawl around, but Amanda from the bottom starts a Doris choke. Maybe Dominic is into this type of thing because he sat back, relaxed, and accepted it. And after dominating this fight, he ends up tapping with only a few seconds left in the first round. That was a close one, but Amanda probably deserves a title fight after that victory, but there's one more contender left in the division, and based off his coaching days on The Ultimate Fighter and his interviews, I'd like to see him get knocked the fuck out. Even though Cody is an American man, he comes into this fight with a reach, IQ, and vocabulary disadvantage. Amanda almost won the fight in the opening seconds, but he was able to escape. From here, she was winning off her back and on her feet, but it made it to the second round. Again in the second, Amanda had complete control of the fight. She had more than one opportunity to force the ref to step in, but I guess she was looking for a highlight finish on this special needs T-Rex.
He's got him right here. Hurt him with that spinning back fist.
She got it, and she has officially cleaned out the contenders in the division. And it's time for her championship fight against TJ Dillashaw. Both fighters are coming into this one while shooting themselves up with one thing or another, so it evens out. Dillashaw is a smaller man but has better striking stats than Nunes. Both fighters had their moments in the first round, but Amanda came to her corner not looking too hot. Seeing all this blood brought up an honest question of mine. When a woman switches to a man, where does the blood come out during the periods? If they don't take out the uterus, do they just turn into a human ketchup bottle once a month? Maybe they just give it a good squeeze in the morning and they're good for the day? I should probably steer away from that topic if I want to keep my channel, so back to the fight. It's been pretty even. Both of them are getting their shots in, but these guys need to stop taking her to the ground in this game. Amanda goes for a basic guillotine and wins the fight and the belt. It wasn't pretty, but in UFC 3, she has pegged the men's bantamweight competition and became the undisputed champ. I even gave Dillashaw the rematch to see if it was a fluke victory, but I don't know, maybe he's coming in with another messed up shoulder. And anyway, Amanda double fisted this man against his will and knocked him unconscious. I could end it here, but Amanda is the women's featherweight champion too, so let's see if she can become a 2-division champion in this game against Prime Max Holloway, who at the time is coming off a 13-fight winning streak. This is the first major height disadvantage for Nunes since Sean O'Malley. Max is a little too relaxed in this one for my liking, but he keeps landing rolling thunder kicks on her like he's calling in care packages. Amanda picked up the pace, but Max just kept answering back as soon as he lost momentum.
Well, we were expecting that we would see a shot to the head. He's stunned. He's in trouble. He's got him hurt here. The body there really starting to connect at a high percentage now in the latter stages of this one. Oh! What a leg kick. Leg kick now. He's hurt.
Max kept stunning her with high kicks, but he couldn't finish her off in time. No shame in that. We've all been there. A minute left in the third, he lands a front kick to her face, and she doesn't have enough space to run away this time.
Oh, he hurt him.
Finally, someone was able to defeat the male Amanda Nunes in UFC 3. I think this experiment has been pretty realistic. Trust me, I understand the biological disadvantages between men and women, especially in a sport like MMA, but Amanda Nunes is a different breed. And I think the men's bantamweight division is a bit overrated and not that entertaining outside of a couple fighters. It probably wouldn't be this pretty if she really fought these men, but I think if she had time to train for her new opponents, she'd eventually break into the top 5 in the division. If Hasbulla is about to get a fight in the UFC, I don't think it's that far out of an idea to allow a mixed gender super fight to take place. It would either bring in a ton of new fans to the sport or increase domestic abuse on a global scale, but that's a risk I see Dana White willing to take on. That's gonna do it for this one. Cry all you want about the robbery in UFC 280, but Sean O'Malley deserves a title fight. Prove me wrong, but Aljamain is the worst champion in bantamweight history in my opinion. And if you're watching this on the toilet, don't forget to wipe. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.